Let's go ahead and finish up number 7 on page 10 of our 4.4 notes. So let's see, we divided 5x squared by 1x squared on this last step. I'm going to move it up because we don't need to see the problem. 5 divided by 1 is 5. The x squareds cancel, so we just got plus 5. So then I went over here and wrote positive 5. So then I put a mark above the division, and I can tell that's my last step through division because I'm at the end. My constant's at the end. So then I was ready to multiply, so I went 5 times x squared and got my 5x squared. 5 times negative 2 and got my negative 10, and it has to go underneath its like term. So let's bring this all the way down. So this one has a negative 10 as well. And then we're ready to subtract for the last time. So we drew the line, and now we have to change the signs. And so what's the remainder? 2x, right? Because you kind of get tricked and thinks it's 0 because this cancels and this cancels. But look at this. I have 2x with nothing added to it. So that's going to be my remainder. All that matters with the remainder is that the power is less than the divisor, and it is. So this is how we would write our quotient. Negative, move it up a little bit. I don't think I can get it all in at once, so let's make it smaller. Okay, so it's going to be negative 2x cubed. Now you can push these together, minus 5x plus 5. This was positive, so I write plus. The remainder goes in the numerator. The divisor goes in the denominator. And that would be my answer. So that one was a little bit tricky. Probably not something I would put on a test in this class. Maybe the next class 150, but probably not in this class where we're just learning it. So there you have an example in case they give you one like that now. Okay, so let's switch to the other kind of division, which, like I said, is much more fun. But the bad thing about synthetic, you do it in one step. So if you look, we had 9 steps, 9 steps, 9 steps, 9 steps. So these are pretty long. Synthetic's done in one step. So you're thinking, wow, you should have taught that to us first. But it only works when the divisor is a variable plus or minus something. If there's exponents, if there's a number in front of the variable, it doesn't work. So on our last page, it would have worked for this one because it's just m plus something or m minus something. It would have worked for this, x minus 4. But these two, it wouldn't have, because see how there's a number in front of the x? And see how there's a power? So long division works with every problem in the whole world. Synthetic only works with a little population. It has to be of the form x plus or minus some number, no number in front of the x, no powers. So here, this is m plus 4, no number in front of m but 1, powers 1. So that's the only kind synthetic works for. So it could be m plus 4, m minus 4, m plus 3, m minus 2. So anything of that form. So let's see how this works. So out to the side, I'm going to write some steps, and you probably want to write some steps too because they'll help remind you what's going on. So we have to first decide what the divisor is. So over here I write m plus 4 equals 0, and I solve that. I need to cross the equal sign, so I get m equals negative 4. So that's called my divisor. So see where I put it out here in front in a little box to show it's a divisor. Then you look to see if there's any missing terms. M to the third, M to the second, M to the first, no M. All terms are good. Then you just take the coefficients. Remember that vocabulary we learned 2 sections ago? It's the numbers in front of each letter. So +3, +7, -16, +16. So look how simple that looks. Isn't that beautiful after doing that long division? Step 1 is bring the first number down. And this method, let's go to step 4. This method only has 2 things that you repeat. It's multiply and add. So you bring the first number down, then you multiply these on the diagonal. -4 times 3 is -12. Then you add. So it's multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. So rather than go down here, I'm just going to finish up on this one. I think it's confusing when you write it in a bunch of steps. So first number comes down, then we multiply, and I get -12. Then I add 7 plus -12 is -5. Then I multiply. -5 times -4 is +20. Then I add -16 plus 20 is +4. Then I multiply, -16. And then this last number is always the remainder. 16 minus 16, so this time the remainder is 0. So isn't that interesting? So we just did a 9-step division problem in 1 step. Wild, right? 9-step division problem in 1 step. So now we just have to decide what the variables will be which go on each term. So we have to look back at the first term and we say, what's m cubed divided by m? Well, when we divide, we do 3 minus 1, so that would be m squared. So my first term is going to have an m squared with it. This is going to be my m, and this is going to be my constant. So my answer will be 3m squared minus 5m plus 4. And when the remainder is 0, we don't need to write that unless Alex asks for it. If they say, what's the remainder? You tell them it's 0. So you just divide the front coefficients, kind of like long division. 3 minus 1 is 2. And that's where I got the m squared. The moral of the story is it's always 1 power less than the original problem. So that's how you can find it quickly. I mean, I like you to understand why it's 2, but it's always going to be 1 power less, because remember how this can only be m to the first? So just take 1 power away from there, and that's going to be the highest power for your answer. But is that like the sweetest method you've ever seen in your life? Awesome. I wish it worked for every division problem. I would love it if I never had to see long division again. But like I said, you need long division for the oblique asymptotes when you're doing rational functions in the next class. So definitely need to learn it. Yes, you'll love this one and you'll want to use it as much as you can, but there are some uses for long division. So that's why I have to make sure you learn both of them. So I put them both on the test. One that has a number in front, so maybe 5m plus 4, so you can't use this method. You have to use long division. Okay, let's go to the last page and have some fun with these. So how about we do 8 and 9, and then you, oh, look at, I used wild recycled paper again. Lighten it up so we don't see it so much. Oh, I guess that's not working. Okay, so step number 1, decide what the divisor is. So you take the number or the divisor and you set it equal to 0. What will make that divisor 0? So you add 2, so r equals 2. So that's step 1, because you need to decide what the little number is going to be in front of the box. So 2 in the box, that's my divisor. Then, don't skip this step. It's impossible to get the answer right if you skip this step. Is there a missing variable? R to the third, R to the second, R to the first, no R. So this one has no missing term. So then I bring down the coefficients, the numbers in front. 5, -3, -10, -8. And if there was a missing term, just like before, you'd write in plus 0x² and you just have a 0 in this list. But you can't get this answer right if you forget the 0. So always check to see if there's a missing term. Then you leave a little space and draw your line. If you want to put your 2 steps in there just to remind you, we're multiplying, then we're adding, multiplying, adding, multiplying, adding. So my first number comes down, and that's why we always want the 2 in the box, so we know that's not the first number. That's how we get started. And then we follow the process. Multiply. 2 times 5 is 10. Then we add. -3 plus 10 is 7. Then we multiply. 2 times 7, 14. Then we add -10 plus 14, or 14 minus 10. Then we multiply 8, and then we write a box because we know this is our remainder, and we add and we get 0. That is awesome. We just did like, what was it? I think the last problem took us 8 minutes, half of a video, and this one just took us maybe a minute. Now we just have to put the variables on it. So we look at the front terms. What's r cubed divided by r? R squared. So that means this is r squared. This is r. That'll be my constant. And there's no negative symbols, so there's all positives between each term. So 5r squared plus 7r plus 4. No remainder. Beautiful. Awesome, huh? Okay, next. This would be a good one. Yeah, why don't you guys try this one? You've seen 2, so go ahead and shut off the video and try this one. Okay? So x plus 1 equals 0. That means x is -1. And if you get the divisor wrong, the whole problem's wrong, so don't rush this step. Set it equal to 0, find out what x is, and bring your -1. Let's look for missing terms. X to the 4th, x to the 3rd, x to the 2nd, x to the 1st. No x, no missing terms, and I'm 99.9% positive I put a missing term on this one on the test. So what's the coefficient here? 1, 3, 1, 6, 5. So 1, 3, 1, 6, 5. And there were no missing exponents, so we're good to go. So maybe write our little MA here, put our plus sign, and we start by bringing the first number down that's not a divisor. So multiply, -1. 3 plus -1, or 3 minus 1, 2. Multiply, -2. 1 plus -2 is -1. Multiply, 7. Add, 6 plus 1, 7. Multiply, -7. Remainder, -2. And we're about to run out of time, so we'll finish this one on the next page and do the last one on the next video probably.